Children's thriller, Notes from a Secret Agent, adventure stories for kids. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. Suit and tie, white shirt and sunglasses. Officer Trevor has the appearance of a regular cop, but nobody at the office knows his secret mission, except for the commissioner. During his assignment, Trevor discovers that there may be a corrupt officer in their bureau, and that he is planning on doing something terrible. Will he be able to catch him in the act and stop a disaster from happening with a magical object? Listen to this short, fun thriller and find out. Note 1. Don't be fooled. I looked at the clock and saw the time. I was already getting late. I had to hurry. I quickly took my jacket, my wallet, my keys, and my sunglasses. I never forgot my sunglasses. I ran outside and hopped into my car. I started the engine, looked into my mirror, turned on my blinker, and got out of the parking lot. I checked the speed limit again. Oh yes, it was only 35 miles per hour in this zone. That wasn't going to help me get there fast. I was hoping the commissioner won't be too hard on me. Late. I was late, but it didn't seem to matter, because the commissioner, the big chief of the police station, came to me and gave me a warm welcome. "Agent Trevor," he said, "good to see you." He shook my hand and put his left hand on my shoulder. I looked him into the eyes and gave him a smile, somewhat sheepish, and then I followed him to his office. Apparently, he had something important for me to do. "Trevor, we have a serious problem," he said when he sat me down in front of his desk. "I'm listening," I said. He sat down himself and leaned forward. "There are corrupt cops among us." I raised my eyebrows. "That's a serious accusation, Commissioner. Do you have any proof to back that statement up?" "I don't," he said. "That's where you come in. We've seen some things that look suspicious, but we can't put our finger on it. We need you to sort it out, find out who it is and what they are after." "But sir, corruption comes in so many forms. What do you suspect they are doing?" "We don't know exactly, like I said, but we found evidence that someone has been tampering with the lock in the storage room." "Okay, I will look into it," I said. When I left his office, I immediately went to the designated place. The storage room was full of stuff. It hadn't been cleaned up in a while, but the door was always locked, except for this time. The first thing I noticed was that someone had forced him or herself in here. They kind of broke the lock, but tried to make it look like nothing happened by attaching it sloppily. The big question was, what did they steal? I turned on the light and I looked at the mess. It was like the cops would just confiscate items and then dump them here without looking back or analyzing them. It came to me that we needed a system, something we could rely on. But right now, it was more important to find out what was missing. I was surprised at the things I saw there, like a broken shotgun, a spear, a shovel, a golden sword, a pack of balloons, a bucket, 2 bottles of pop, and a copy machine. But something stood out. "What the?" I said. "What is that?" It was a viola. It had a reddish-brown color and some kind of decoration on it. I wondered who would have confiscated a viola. It didn't seem like a dangerous or suspicious object to me. What was so sketchy about a viola that they had to bring it in? Strange. I kept searching thoroughly, skimming the surface of the shelves, trying to find any indication of something that had been moved, taken, or touched. "Aha!" I said after a while. "Something was here and now it's gone. I will warn the commissioner." But when I went to his office, he hesitated. "It's better if people don't know that I am involved in this case," he said. "You have to be really sneaky about it." "But I don't know what used to be there. I can see the difference. The dust is blown away. Someone took something from that spot. Could you please come take a look?" "Well, all right," the commissioner said. "Over there," I said. "Oh," he said, "I think there was some kind of machine there. I never knew what it was. They brought it in because someone was bothering the neighbors with the noises that came from it. but they never finished the research. The guy who had it moved away, and the officers at the office forgot about it." "If someone stole it, then it must be important," I said. "You're right. I suggest you look into the computer and see if you can find any records of it being taken." That's what I was going to do. Note 2. Do your research. I turned the computer on. It took forever. I sighed. "Come on, stupid piece of junk, hurry up. I don't have all day." A coworker stood behind me. "Impatient with the computer, huh? What are you looking up?" he asked. Nothing in particular," I said. "I just needed to find an address." I didn't want to tell him what I was researching, because every cop in the bureau was a suspect. When you know that it's one of the officers at the police station, it's better not to trust your colleagues and let them in on the little secrets you're discovering. Eventually, I started the right program and looked at what had disappeared. There was a vague picture of a small machine with several buttons, but it was too blurry to tell what it really was. The description just had a question mark, nothing more. I figured I wouldn't learn anything from the recorded file someone had put into the computer. If only they were a bit more precise here at the bureau. I looked around me with suspicious eyes. Which of these cops stole the machine my commissioner was talking about? And what was the machine for anyway? At first, I thought about questioning some people at the police station, but I didn't know whom to trust, and I didn't want to let anyone know I was on this case. I closed my eyes and leaned back in my chair. Since we worked in cubicles, the others didn't see me doing that, or they probably would have commented on my laziness. But I wasn't being lazy. I was listening. My senses sharpened. I was observing everything that was happening around me. There were ticking sounds by people who were typing on their keyboards, clicking sounds by others who were using their computer mouse, people talking, noises from cars that were barely audible through the thick double-pane windows, and much more. I overheard their conversations. Some men were talking about their weekends, while others were filing reports or discussing parking and speeding tickets, or going over the police policies. I let my thoughts flow. I wanted my body to relax, but concentrate intensely at the same time. I knew that whenever I did this, I would receive some kind of prompting from beyond. It was strange how it worked. Thoughts flashed through my mind, a collaboration of the thousands of impulses that had entered my brain without being processed. Something stood out. What was that? I heard a sound of... I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was right next to me. I opened my eyes and stood up. I looked around me and saw it. One of my colleagues was shaking something. "What's that?" I asked. "What's what?" he asked me. "That sound. What are you doing?" "Oh, this? That's just me shaking the whiteout. I made a mistake on a piece of paper and I can't erase it because I wrote it with a pen, so I'm just correcting it." "Genius," I said. "Huh?" "Never mind. Thanks," I said, and I ran away from the desk. For some reason, the shaking of the whiteout bottle had told me something. It connected dots in my mind to white fluids and white powder, and after that I knew that I hadn't tried to use powder yet. I hadn't tried to look for fingerprints yet. Note 3. Go after them. There I was, at the forensics office. I knew I could find the equipment I needed to look for fingerprints. I snuck in there, laughing inside about the lack of security they had. The people who worked at forensics weren't into all the action. All they did was study materials and profiles and such. I considered them to be somewhat nerdy, but hey, it was me who was going to share that same nerdiness by getting the right tools to do the job. I looked around and found what I needed. Then I went back into the storage room. I applied the white dust to the suspicious spots where the machine should have been. Aha, I thought, that must be a fingerprint. I used my brush to get the needed results and took pictures of what I found. I was so curious that I almost forgot to close the door and take my stuff with me. I took the camera and inserted the chip into the computer at my desk. I checked. The other police officers were all too busy. I typed in a few things and did a search. After some time loading, the computer showed a match. Bingo, I softly said to myself. I got him. In front of me, on the computer screen, I saw a familiar face. It was a coworker named Robert Weiss. I never talked to him much. I mean, there were hundreds of officers at this police station, so I didn't get to know everyone. But I had seen him around. He probably worked at another department or something. But where was he now? I guessed I could ask some coworkers without raising suspicions that I was working at a specific case, so I did. Hey, Charlie, do you know where Robert Weiss went? Robert? No, haven't seen him. Lewis, have you seen him? I asked another coworker. Robert Weiss? What do you need him for? I thought he worked upstairs. Okay, thanks. I went upstairs and asked around some more. One of the officers at that department said he had seen him run out the door with a machine, but he didn't know where he went. It was pointless to search for him in the big city, so instead, I went to the commissioner's office. He greeted me, but he wasn't very pleased to see me. Didn't I tell you to be discreet? Others shouldn't know you are working with me on a case. Oh, it doesn't matter anymore, I said. I already know who stole the machine from storage. Really? How? I dusted the place for fingerprints, and there was only one match. Robert Weiss. Weiss, the commissioner said. What got into him? I don't know, but I want to find out. I need access to his computer files. You got it, the commissioner said. He looked for the password for Robert's computer. We both went to his cubicle and turned it on. Others were just doing their own thing. We didn't stand out. The two of us waited until the computer started running its main programs. Stupid piece of junk, the commissioner complained. Does it always take this long? Yes, it does, sir. My computer is just as slow. I'm sorry, Trevor. I will see if we can get faster ones sometime. Right now our budget is pretty limited. Man, how long is this going to take? This is so ridiculous. I laughed a little inside when I saw that I wasn't the only one losing my temper when working on these slow computers. When we were finally done waiting, we looked into Robert's files. We searched and searched, and eventually we found something interesting. These are data from the old factory outside of town, I said. Look, it has an address, pictures, and emails to the power plant to get electricity going there. I wonder what he is up to. Hooking up that machine, obviously, the commissioner said. What shall we do? I asked. Send a unit there? No, there are so many things that require our attention. We cannot afford to just send a bunch of people over there without even knowing if he is at that building. Do you want me to go on my own? I can do that. No, not on your own, the commissioner said. I will go with you. Sir? I haven't been out in the field for a long time. It's time for me to get back into the action. Don't worry about all my other tasks. They will wait for me until I get back. I laughed. Sounds good, sir. It's all up to you. Note 4. Don't hesitate. The commissioner and I hopped into a police car and headed towards the outskirts of the city. When we came there, we checked the address again. It was evident which building was being used, because the old industrial area outside the city center was deserted, yet there was only one building in which the lights were on. See that? The commissioner asked. There is our rat. Let's get him. We jumped out of the car and entered the garage. It was completely empty. It was like going into some ruins from a few hundred years ago. Bricks were broken, plants were growing on several parts of the structure, and the mold smell permeated our senses as soon as we stepped foot into the edifice. We looked around and found the stairs to the top of the factory. Without hesitating, we ran up the stairs. The commissioner told me to pull my gun, and did the same. As we approached the upper floor, we slowed down and became more alert. We had no idea what we would find there. Suddenly, we heard a voice. You can come in. I already noticed you when you pulled your car up. We entered a big room, almost as big as the parking lot on the base floor. It had windows on all sides, and it hadn't been demolished yet. There were some chairs and tables in the corners, but what caught our eye was the person on the far end of the room, who was holding a device that looked like a remote control. He was in a police uniform and had a big grin on his face. He was holding a revolver in his other hand, pointing it at us. We closed in and listened to what he had to say. "You are about to witness the best moment in history," he said. "Robert," the commissioner asked, "what are you doing?" "I am glad you ask," he said. "But before I continue, I have to ask you to drop your guns." "And why would we do that?" I asked. "You stole something from the Bureau. Why would we trust you?" "Because I am willing to share the profits with you," Robert said. "Profits? Of what?" I asked. "Of everything. Everything. You see, this device here, it's a trigger. That machine over there is a sonar system. It sends audible waves through the air and alerts the creatures who will assist me wipe out the whole city." Hold on, I said. "What creatures? And why would you wipe out the whole city?" "Oh, come on," Robert said. "What do you think? Money, of course. If I kill everyone in this town, all that there is left is for me to steal all the money from the corpses, from the bank, and from every household." "You evil, mean, selfish," the commissioner said. "Well, let's not start calling names," Robert said. "I am being very generous here. I am willing to split with you. You can each have 33%. Fair is fair. What do you say, guys?" "Never," the commissioner said. "Just out of curiosity," I began, "how are you going to wipe out the city? What creatures are you talking about?" "Ghosts, my friends, ghosts. Let me explain. This device reaches all the way to the depths of the underworld. When I press this button here, they will come and destroy everything within a 100-mile radius. All I have to do is hide myself in that vault over there, and then I will be safe. Within 24 hours, they'll be done, and I can come out to get what I deserve." "You will do no such thing," the commissioner said as he came closer with his gun. "Lower your guns, or I will make it go off," Robert said. "You're going to do that anyway," I shouted. "What's the point? Now put the remote down or we will shoot you." "I am giving you one last chance," Robert said. "If you shoot me, I will still press the button on the remote and the ghosts will come get you. Put the guns down." I was tired of all this threatening. I glanced at the commissioner. He didn't trust it for one bit. I stopped thinking and pulled the trigger. Bam! I hit the hand in which Robert held the remote control. Ah! Screaming in agony, he dropped the remote and fell on his knees. But before we could do anything, he reached for the remote with his other hand and pressed the button. "No!" I yelled. Note 5. Watch out. The next thing we knew, we felt a little vibration, and it was almost like there was some kind of high-pitched sound that was difficult to hear for us as humans. "You cannot stop it! Ha 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 ha!" Robert shouted. He tried to run away with the remote in his hand, and he almost reached one of the doors, but then the commissioner did his share. Bam, 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 bam! Robert got hit. The commissioner had shot him, and Robert was dead. We looked at him for a few seconds, feeling a little awkward. We had wanted to solve this in a non-violent way, but he had left us no choice. Besides, the problem wasn't solved yet. The vibrating machine was still sending waves through the air, alerting all the ghosts in the underworld, or so we were told. "Turn it off," the commissioner said. I walked towards the machine and shot it. Bam! Bam! 2 bullets were enough to make it stop. Smoke came from the machine. It was broken. That solved that. Robert was taken out of the equation. But were the ghosts still coming? We looked out the window. At first, we didn't see anything. The horizon was empty and everything seemed safe. But after a few minutes, we saw little swarms in the distance. Swarms of flying creatures that moved differently than any birds we had ever seen. "That must be them," the commissioner said. "What are we going to do?" "Kill as many of them as we can," I said. but I knew that wouldn't be enough to stop them. It looked like there were thousands of them. Any ideas of how to destroy thousands of ghosts at once? I asked. With an army, perhaps, the commissioner said. This is awful. People will die. We have to do something. Let's go to the police station, I suggested. Good idea. We ran down and got into our car. As we drove to the police station, we discovered to our horror that we were too late. Ghosts were already flying in between the skyscrapers, shooting citizens with their fireballs and flying around to blow things up. People were yelling and screaming. There was chaos everywhere. Some of the city's inhabitants were fighting ghosts, others were hiding, and most of them were just aimlessly running for their lives. The explosive sounds were heard everywhere. It was a complete disaster. We're almost there, the commissioner said. We have to get all officers to team up and stay together. Only then do we stand a chance. We maneuvered through the chaos and avoided some explosions and fireballs the monsters were spewing at us. I shot a few of them with my gun, and the commissioner used his best driving skills to get us to our destination. When we arrived, we saw the panic in the police station as well. Cops were running around, accidentally knocking over papers, and many of them were on the phone with frightened citizens. I stood there, dumbfounded by the situation. Ghosts were all across the city, and there were only a handful of cops. I just hoped that those flying spooks wouldn't do too much damage with their attacks before we could go out there and start fighting back. The commissioner was doing everything in his power to organize the police forces. But then I walked by the storage room. Hey, I said, perhaps Nah, that wouldn't do anything. Note 6. Use magic. I opened the door and had a vision. It was almost like an epiphany, a daydream from on high. It hit me like lightning. I can't really describe what it felt like, but I will do my best to put it into words. I felt calm and peaceful, as if nothing wrong was going to happen. I closed my eyes and felt myself floating away towards the sky. I watched the city and observed the panic everywhere. The ghosts were flying around, causing traffic collisions and damage in all the corners of our giant metropolis. But then they disappeared. I heard a sweet sound, lower than some kind of squeaking, but high enough to pierce through the very fibers of my soul. 1,000 thoughts and memories flashed before my eyes until I opened them and woke up with a jolt. In front of me was the viola, the strange object somebody had confiscated and probably never reported. There must be more to this thing. Perhaps this is not just some regular musical instrument, I said as I walked closer. I picked up the bow and started playing. It was crazy. It was as if my arms and hands were controlled by one of the most brilliant brains in the universe, even though I knew that wasn't me. But it was me. How did I do that? I watched my limbs play a beautiful masterpiece I had never even heard before. It went faster and faster, and before I knew it, the sound was as if an entire chorus was backing me up. I kept playing and playing for 10 minutes straight. Then I bowed for some reason, feeling that others were watching me. It was the strangest thing ever, like being hypnotized, but still being able to control myself in some way. When I was done playing, I put the viola down and looked at it. Wow, I said. What is with that thing? Is this some kind of magical object or something? As I stared at it, it dawned on me how stupid this question was. Of course it was magical. I just played a masterpiece I didn't even know. Wake up, stupid, I said to myself. Then I snapped out of it and realized we were still in a dire situation. I had to go join the ranks and start killing some ghosts with the other cops. What was I doing here playing a viola? I ran towards the hallway of the police station and was stunned when I came there. Note 7. Victory. The police officers were standing there with their mouths open, some inside the hallway, others in front of the building. When it began to sink in what they were so astonished about, I too opened my mouth and looked at the city with big eyes. All the ghosts were gone. People were still in shock, and there was still some chaos by running individuals, little accidents, and some who were still in survival mode. But the ghosts were gone. The ghosts were gone. What happened? I asked the commissioner. I don't know, he said as he kept staring. Then he shook his head to snap out of it and get back to reality. Okay, everyone, we still have work to do. The enemies may be gone, but the city is still in chaos. Let's get to it. You, and you, go to the downtown area. You go to the west neighborhood, and you three come with me. Let's go, let's go, let's go! We all separated and tried to calm the figurative storm by reassuring citizens that the danger was gone, solve arguments, and do the necessary work for collisions and lost or damaged goods. It was a lot of work, and it took us 4 days to get everything completed. Almost every cop was out in the field or on the phone all day. Luckily, we got paid and thanked for our overtime. Eventually, when the peace in the city had been restored, I entered the commissioner's office. He welcomed me with a smile, shook my hand, and sat down. Everything is back to normal, he said. I am glad it is, sir. It's strange, he said. The ghosts were attacking everyone, but somehow they got scared, disgusted, or turned off by something. They all stiffened a little, even when flying, and then took off in a hurry. What do you think that is, Officer Trevor? I have no idea, sir. Really? Because someone told me you were playing the viola in the storage room at the exact moment they started flying away. Let me ask you this, officer. Why did you start playing that instrument when there were so many people to be helped and ghosts to be killed? Honestly, sir, I don't know. It was as if something prompted me to do so. Well, I don't know how you did it, and I don't know whatever powers that weird viola possesses, but I am convinced that you playing it is related to their flight. By the way, the reports state that there were 0 fatalities amongst the citizens. Wow, that's wonderful news, and yes, it could be related to it, I admitted. And that's why I have decided to give you a promotion, the commissioner said. Oh, thank you, sir. But what if the events weren't related? Then I guess you were just lucky and it was just a coincidence. But I'll give you the promotion anyway. He winked at me and told me to leave. I wondered afterwards if he secretly knew about the magical powers of the viola, but I never asked him if he did. The end. This has been Children's Thriller, Notes from a Secret Agent, Adventure Stories for Kids. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. Production copyright 2017 by Jeff Child.